All right. In today's video, we're going to be talking about how to model and solve one variable, one-step equations, and inequalities that represent problems, including geometric concepts. So mainly, we're working on what you need to focus on are one-step equations and inequalities. Okay, one-step equations and inequalities. So, the first problem is from the 2018 test. Alejandra has $600 in her checking account. She wants to spend part of this money on a computer. She wants to have at least $250 left in her checking account after buying the computer. The inequality shown can be used to find T, the amount of money in dollars that Alejandra can spend on the computer. So then we see the inequality. It is T, which is, again, the amount of money in dollars that she can spend on the computer, plus 250 is less than or equal to 600. T plus 250 is less than or equal to 600. So, if you know anything about equations, solving inequalities, you solve them the same way. It's just when you have the answer might mean something different. And when you graph it, obviously the graph usually looks a lot different. But let's solve this. I'm going to write it a little bigger over here. T. I don't like T's because they'll look a lot like a plus symbol. Plus 250 is less than or equal to 600. So we need to isolate the variable, which is our t. Need to get that alone, so I'm going to look, what am I doing to the t? Well, I'm currently adding 250. Well, what's the opposite of adding 250? It's the inverse is subtracting 250. Okay, and that zeroes out, which means 250 minus 250 is 0. But we have to keep the inequality balanced, meaning whatever I do to the left side, I do to the right side. Similar to what you would do in a fraction, whatever you do to the numerator, you do to the denominator. So once I do that, that leaves me with 350. I have my variable, t, and then my inequality is as such. Now, you need to realize you have to flip your inequality if you had a negative coefficient, meaning I had like a negative 3, and I had to multiplying by negative 3, so I divide by negative 3. If I had a negative coefficient, I flip my inequality. Since I don't, my inequality stays the same. So what this means is, okay, so she has 600 in her checking account. She wants to leave 250. How much money does she have left? Well, she has $350 left. So why is the inequality like this? Well, she could spend up to 350. She couldn't spend more than 350. So that's why t is less than or equal to 350. Why is it less than? Well, and equal to? Because again, she doesn't want to spend more than 350. If she did, she would have less than 250 left in her checking account, which she doesn't want to happen. So C would be our answer. All right, next one. The area of the rectangle shown is 375 square centimeters. What is h, the height of the rectangle in centimeters? So, let's look at this. How can we solve this? What is the height? So what information did they give me? They gave me this is 25 centimeters. This is h, which I don't know. It's an unknown quantity. But they did give me the area of the rectangle. And I know that's 375. So, looking at this, I'm going to write down what I do know to help me solve for what I don't know. So I know the area is 375. I know I'm dealing with a rectangle, and I know the formula for area of a rectangle is area equals lowercase b times h. So again, I'm going to plug in what I do know. I know the area. I know the base. I don't know the height. So when solving this, what you're really asking is 25 times what equals 375? If we were to solve this algebraically, I would say I'm multiplying by 25. What's the inverse of multiplying by 25? I'm going to do this in a different color. Dividing by 25. Whatever I do to the right side, I do to the left side. And so then I just divide 375 by 25, and I'm going to get 15. So, your height is 15 centimeters. Why? Because again, how do we find the area of a rectangle? Base times height, and 25 times 15 That's right, it's 375. So again, our answer is H. All right. What value of x makes this equation true? So we can do it two ways. We can solve it algebraically, or we can just plug in the answers. Let's solve it algebraically first, see what we get, and then we can see how we can use the answers in case we ever get stumped to figure out the answer. So I have a variable here, and then I have a negative 100 here. I need to isolate this x. I'm going to write a little bigger here, equals negative 100 plus x. So again, I need to isolate the x. So what am I doing right now? I'm adding a negative 100. What is the inverse of adding a negative 100? Adding a positive 100. Okay? Because again, I need the constant, and the constant is a number by itself with no variable. I need the constant to zero out, because I need to get rid of it. If I'm adding or subtracting, I'm just going to do the opposite. So this zeroes out. But whatever you do to the right side, you have to do to the left side. So on this, I have negative 90 plus 100. One is positive, one is negative. So what do you do if one number is positive and one number is negative? You subtract, and then what determines whether your answer is positive or negative? The number with the greater absolute value, 100. It is positive, therefore your answer is positive. And then what am I left with? The equal sign and the x. So x is positive 10. Okay, let's plug it back in to make sure we're right. 10 plus negative 100 is negative 90, so yay, we did it right. Mr. Hewlett, I'm taking a test on Edgenuity or STAR test or a test in class, and I've forgotten the rules of integers or what can I do to solve this? Okay, I don't know how to solve an equation. Are there any tricks? So we can just use our answers. We can plug in our answers, A, B, C, or D, and see which one makes it true, because this, when it has the equal sign, it's a statement, and the statement must be true, and if you plug in something and it doesn't make it true, well, then that's not the answer. So let's look at A, negative 10 plus negative 100 plus negative 10. Well, if they're both negative, you add them up, your answer is negative. That would give you negative 110. Well, that's not the same thing as negative 90. So that can't be it. And again, we already know what's 10, but let's try one more. C. All right, negative 100 plus negative 190. Both are both are negative. You add them up, you get negative 290. I see 90, but not negative 290, so that can't be it. So it can't be C. Let's try D. Negative 100 plus 190. One is positive, one is negative. So you take 190 minus 100, and you get 90. Is it positive or negative? Well, the number with the greater absolute value is 190. It's positive. So your answer would be positive. So this would be positive 90, which is the opposite of negative 90. I mean, they both have a 90 in it, but it's definitely not the same thing. So again, it couldn't be D. Our answer is B as in boy. All right. Okay, our last question for this video. Saritha will construct a rectangle that has a height of 4 units and an area of up to, and this is really important, up to 48 square units. And up to means it can be all the way up to 48 units. It could be less than 48 units, but it definitely can't be more than 48 units. And we'll see with our answer choices why that's important. Which inequality represents all possible lengths and units of the basis B that Saritha can use to construct the rectangle? All right. So what are we looking for? We're doing area, okay? So we know that the height is 4, but we don't know the base. Similar to the other problem where they actually had drawn the rectangle, we need to start off with what we know. I know area is base times height. So now we need to know that we can go up to 48, but we can't do or can't have a base that when I multiply a number by 4, that I can't get a number greater than 48. So it has the equal sign because it can go all the way up to 48. It could equal 48, or it could be less than 48. So I know my height is 4, but I don't know my base. Again, the inequality is going to face this way. Why? Because again, when I multiply 4 times something, it can go up to 48, but this number has to be less than whatever I solve for, because again, it can't be greater than 48. I could also write it this way, 4b and 48. Now, notice the inequalities facing different direction in each of those, but both times, what it's saying is the 4b, you always read your variable side first. On this one right here, it is 4b is less than or equal to 48. The one below it, you still read 4b first. 4b is less than or equal to 48. All right, so again, we should be better at solving inequalities. What am I doing here? I need to isolate that b. What am I doing to the b? I'm multiplying by 4. The inverse of multiplying by 4 is, that's right, dividing by 4. Now that cancels out because 4 divided by 4 is 1, and 1 times b is b. Now whatever I do to the left side, I do to the right side. Oh, I'm not going to divide by b. Well, let's divide by 4. That makes a little more sense. And then 48 divided by 4 is 12. So that leaves me with b is less than or equal to 12, and so c is our answer. So again, I can have a base up to 12 units, and units just means it's an unknown quantity. Measurement, unit of measurement could be meters, miles, centimeters, who cares? But my base can be up to 12, no greater than 12, because again, if it's greater than 12, like 15 times 4 would equal 60, and that's bigger than 48, and that's not what I want. Okay. All right, well, in this video, we talked about solving one-step equations and inequalities. I hope you've learned something from this. If you have any additional questions or concerns, you can email me. Thanks, and have a great day.